So, welcome back to another episode of Ingredients for a Better Life. I'm your host, DNA Chef Jay, joined as always with Dr. Robert Nettles, the Chief Medical Scientist and founder of the Stop and Regrow Revolutionary Hair Regrowth Program, and Brandon Tanidis coming live with us from Melbourne, Victoria, Southeast Australia. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And I just want to say a
Um,
quick thank you to the doctor for giving me my hair back because there was a point where I really did not have my confidence, and now I can go outside and not wear a hat anymore. And that's a really good feeling.
My pleasure, Brandon. Always nice to work with someone so dedicated to investing in their own health.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
Brandon, also before we continue, I'm also in Australia right now in Perth on the west coast, which for our people watching in the U.S. is more of like where the brick and mortar of the original Stop and Regrow in Santa Monica is. Whereas where
Hmm.
you are, I believe, is kind of like a combination of like New York and Chicago, but smaller. But it's a
Yeah,
mecca for food, fashion, the arts, and culture. So and also there's a Stop and Regrow office over in that part of Australia as well. So just to give
exactly.
people an idea, that this program is not just in Santa Monica, California. It's not just in New York City. It's all over the world. And maybe you can touch a little bit about your story and how you made it quite a long trip just to suss out your hair. And I hope you had a nice Anzac Day yesterday. Let's not forget. So
Yeah,
welcome, Brandon. It's really a pleasure and a treat to have you here, mate.
appreciate it. I started noticing hair loss in 2016. I was about 17, 18 years old, and I had long hair, so I never would really look at my hairline. But there was one point where I lifted up my hair to look in the mirror, and I noticed because I had a pretty relatively straight hairline, I noticed it was a lot more like a widow's peak. And I caught on immediately, and I saw a lot of fluffy hairs at the front as well. And so I'm 17 years old. I start panicking. I go on Google, and I realize what's happening. But I was kind of made confident again because I read something about a mature hairline, and so that kind of convinced me I wasn't actually losing my hair, and that was good enough for me at the time because that's the last thing I wanted to think about. It was up until I think 2017. I was getting a haircut, and the lady, when she was looking at my crown, she her face went like she saw something. And I knew exactly something was wrong. So as soon as I went home, I had a look at my crown in the mirror, and there was noticeable hair loss there. And that's when I had to accept the reality that I am losing my hair. Because at the same time, my dad was losing his hair around my age as well. And so I just had to kind of accept that fact. And I wasn't doing too well because I was really young. So I was looking up, like Rogaine and all these things, finasteride and all that. But I was seeing all the side effects, and I wasn't too happy with that. So I ended up finding this. It's like a herbal treatment, and it did all right. It stopped the hair loss for about a year until it stopped working. And when it stopped working, my hair started falling out in clumps, and every month I was losing millimeters and millimeters of hairline. That's how aggressive it was. So it became a race against time to find something to fix my hair loss. And that's when I started Googling. Was doing a lot of Googling, would go on the ends of Google, that like page 5, 6, and I saw an article, something to the effect of the cure for hair loss is here now. And it offended me because, I'm like, if there's a cure, I would have heard about it. And I scrolled past and I thought to myself, you know what, if on the off chance it's true, I should check it out. If it's not, at least I know that. And I considered all options. And so I clicked on it, and I was reading about someone called Dr. Nettles, and it was talking about his process, his sciences, and it made sense. And that was something that I hadn't seen much of in the industry, is that this made scientific sense. And because I was going through hair loss, I'd gotten a relatively decent understanding on the science. And so I ended up getting in contact with Stop and Regrow, and I was asking a lot of questions. And I read all the articles, I watched all the YouTube videos, and I ended up, I guess, putting my faith in the program and in Dr. Nettles. I ended up trusting him. It made sense, and I believed what he was saying. And so I ended up getting my stop and regrow, and I started noticing results just in 2 weeks, where I was losing a lot of my hair about here. I noticed in 2 weeks it was more like fluffy hairs there, and it was coming back, and it just started from there. And in about 9 months, my hair, whereas it was very thin and it felt kind of dead looking, it was coming back, and it was a lot more strong and thick and had more vigor. And it was really encouraging because I think at that point I was 18, 19. Knowing that I wasn't going to be bald by 20 was a really good feeling. And when you look at these hair loss videos, they're always saying, oh man, I wanted the hair I had when I was in my 20s. I wasn't even 20 years old yet. And, so that was really discouraging. But knowing that I was going to be 20 and 25 and 30 with my hair, a lot of stress was just taken off my shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Results, very quick results, and a lot of it not only with the precision medicine capsule, but a lot of it was also your dedication with the diet, with aggressively, monitoring and changing what you were putting inside. Because today we're going to kind of transition into the conversation, which is about that four-letter word, that four-letter F word, which is fats. And I know that part of your success has become because you have increased your HDL fat significantly, and you eliminated your sugar, and you really were committed to that. So we applaud you for that, and that is part of the reason. Doctor can chime in, how it's all kind of a myriad effect of it starts firing like a rocket ship. Like we were given this DNA, but now with what Dr. Nettles has done with his research, where he's able to reshape how how these inherited enzymes react. But you choose the ingredients for your rocket ship. You've done that well. So we're going to thank you, Brandon, because you're kind of a model client that is inspirational not only for people like yourself that are having these issues. And I'm on the program as well. I had some crown issues that no longer are an issue. So, but you did a lot of work with the diet, and so I want to go right into those fats, and specifically, so doctor, we'll talk about, you are what you eat. We are what we eat, pretty much. And so if you think of our cell walls, our cell walls are made from the fats that we consume. So I've heard, Dr. Ray, that you'll say, cell walls are made from good fats, and they function a lot better than cells made from bad fats. Things like cancer and diabetes. There's another thing we're even calling diabetes stage 3, which is as people get older, dementia, Alzheimer's is all related to sugar in the cells. But what I wanted to talk about specifically is, in this modern busy lifestyle, are these convenience foods where we're on the go, we're getting these grab and go, we're ordering this, in the States we have Uber Eats. I'm sure in Australia you have the same kind of thing where you can order these restaurants to deliver to work, and they're using these oils that are made up of not those best things for ourselves. So they're a combination of highly processed vegetable and soy fats, which if you're not monitoring your blood and your biochemical report card, like I was running high in estrogen, and for someone, a male running, any person, male, female, running with a higher estrogen level, you really need to watch your soy intake. So there's a lot of these convenience oils, I call them, that are really detrimental. They're highly processed, and so you have vegetable and soy fats, which remain in our bodies, and they're part of us. so this is where it gets kind of technical because, these oils become part of our mitochondria and our nervous tissues, and they can remain in our bodies for up to 2 years, which is pretty frightening, doctor. So what do you have to say about that? And I guess, like, doctor, my question is, how does that impact our health when we have those kind of oils lingering within our cells?
Well, Chef Jay, you touched on quite a few different aspects of the health of the human body, but I made a few notes here. And the one thing I wanted to bring up is the human body, as you alluded to, is very complex, highly complex, 100 trillion cells. But I'd like to also highlight that it's knowable. So let's use the word complex, yet knowable. So 100 trillion cells, but how many different types of cells? 200. Well, Chef Jay and Brandon, we almost hands and feet, we almost could get to 200. So even though it's complex, it's today knowable, right? Food can be a whole lot of different things. You could list them off of lots of different names that we've learned, but if it's an animal, it ate plants. So we either ate plants or we ate an animal that ate plants. So we are consuming one of three macronutrients. Everyone's got a favorite diet and a different scheme. There's only three different macronutrients: protein, fat, and sugar. And you're going to break up the fat into a good fat and a bad fat. So there's a three to four. Okay, so the sugar makes relatively nothing in the body, momentary fuel. Protein makes up everything in the cell, out of the cell. And the fats, as you discussed, make up the cell walls. Cancer, as you mentioned, is a cellular disease, too many cells misrepresenting, misperforming. Well, you're right. The bad fats in the cell walls would logically lead to cells that didn't function or perform as optimally as the ones with the higher concentration of HDL. What we have in the office that no other office has in the world is a data set of optimal ranges of every macronutrient in the human body, and cross-referenced with the hormonal axis, which is on one side is a ratio and on the other side is an absolute. So there's a lot more to the human body, but today there are algorithms that can help us understand it much better.
Right. Very good. So, so what does that mean for, for others that are, what kind of food, should they be cooking to do, like a typical stop and regrow? Like, Brandon, talk about your typical diet as you started gaining success, and how you used to eat and the changes you made when you started to get these great results.
I noticed my best results was when throughout the day I would have a handful of cashew nuts. I would eating a lot of eggs. I was actually eating a lots of eggs. I was told eating eggs was good for training, which is what I was doing. So I ended up getting to about 16 a day, which is a lot. But I noticed with all that protein, which is something I wasn't getting much protein before that, I was probably eating. I would fast until about 6 normally before that, 6 p.m. Then I'd get all my calories in at the end of the day, and that wasn't the best. And the doctor was telling me to eat more regularly and spaced less. So I was eating my breakfast. I was having a handful of cashew nuts. I was eating my lunch. I would do the same with the nuts. I was eating my dinner, same with the nuts. I was just making sure to get all that protein and all the fats. I was also eating a lot of having a lot of olive oil in my salads, and I was having a bit at one point avocado on my toast, and just trying anywhere I could just to get all those nutrients in.
Yeah, those avocados and those nuts and the olive oil, those HDL fats are the key. And there's an old stigma out there that fat was fat is bad, and you know, you have to give up the food you love. Where it's, you know, the science has proven, and you know, if you follow the science, the art will follow. Um, you know, that you don't have to give up those things. You just have to increase those HDL fats. And when you do that, the LDL, which is the bad fat number, it'll squash it down, right, doctor? Is that how it works? I mean, it's really it. You don't have to, you know, give up what you love. You just have to bookend. And doctor, maybe you could talk about the bookend and why it's so critical. Brandon, are you using the bookend as in your diet as well?
The what was that?
The bookend. Doctor, maybe you can touch on the bookend. And if you're not using it, Brandon, you know, we'll talk about it with the viewers because it's one of the key nutritional elements of the Stop and Regrow diet.
Mm-hmm.
So two things to highlight there, Jay, is one you talked about was the bookends, and the bookends just have to do with how the small intestines absorbs protein. Now that we've learned 6 to 10 grams per hour, Brandon mentioned breaking his meals up and every 3 hours thinking of 30 grams worth of opportunity to absorb the protein. So bookending the day is just a mental concept. Every day starts with a morning, and you can either coffee, juice, and start your day and miss the protein, which a lot of people do, or you start with those hard-boiled eggs, something easy in the morning. And then in the evening, a lot of times before you eat, before you go to sleep, you could throw in 10, 20 grams of protein. So bookending your day is a good way to get the sufficient protein intake. And the other question had to do with HDL fats. Jay, what was that question?
Yeah, it's just you know, what the HDL fat, how if you increase the HDL number, the LDL number has no choice but to go down. So, you know, you don't have to give up. Say you like for me, I love to have chicken wings and an IPA beer, or maybe I'll go out for, you know. But you don't have to give up that stuff. But for some people, it's ice cream. But what you do have is some HDL fats afterwards, or you know, you don't necessarily have to give up everything. This isn't giving up on food. It's more about size of a fist, you know, every 3 to 4 hours, making sure you're getting that absorbable protein, making sure it's truly absorbable, and watching which oils are in there. And you know, for the viewers too, you know, they're avocado oil, and we're in Australia, Brandon, that avocado oil is one of the great HDL fats, but the beauty of it versus olive oil is that it has a high heating temperature, meaning it has a high smoke point, meaning you can heat it to 500 degrees and shallow fry things. So you don't have to give up fried foods. And the oils they're not hydrogenated, and they don't change. And, you know, they don't, so avocado oil is if you're not using it, I mean, it's very easy to get anywhere, but, that is a great cooking oil due to its, heating temperature. And, you know, 3 to 4, you know, every 3 to 4 hours, that 20, 30 grams of absorbable protein from those, you know, lean protein sources. And, you know, what I do, look, you know, we're humans, we're all mortals, we all have birthdays or go out to dinner or to function with social events. I always say to the server, take half of my entree, package it to go, hold it in the kitchen, and I'll take the other half home for a snack or something. So it's watching those fluctuations within your intake of your food, and also the size. Most people in North America and you know in Europe and everything, they're not eating frequently enough, and it puts your blood sugar in a bad situation with fluctuations with your blood sugar levels, and then you know it encourages this binge eating, and then over eating, and so you shouldn't be taking in more than the size of your fist. Um, so I guess, you know, that's what I really wanted to point in on, like you were saying about how we're only able to absorb, you know, that 6 grams per hour, I believe. So every 3 to 4 hours, 20 to 30 grams. If you think about it, think of like a hotel room. Has 400 rooms, and it only booked out 200 rooms. Next day, that lost revenue, you can never get it back. Same thing with your protein, and your eating opportunities with HDL fats. If you miss that 3 to 4 hours, every 3 to 4 hours, 5 times a day, whatever it is, then the bookends, your body over time is going to be in a deficit, and that, doctor, we could talk about some other time. And that's how you don't live to be 100 years old. That's how you do become a statistic in diabetes and heart disease and everything like that.
That's a great point that you made, Jay. Each day is an opportunity, right, to fill up the body to get better. So each life, right, a good life is only as good as a good year. A good year is only as good as a good month. A good month is good as a good week. Good week is good as a good day. A good day starts with a good morning. Good morning starts with a good night before. If you don't plan the night before to get the day right, the next day, tomorrow, get one day right, you're not going to get those weeks, months, years. So it's about getting the preparation in your mind right. Prepare the way, and then the next day is a lot better.
That's right, because practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
That's it, Jay.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Ray. Always, I know you're a very busy man, doing the research, helping people around the world, and Brandon, thank you for joining us. And it's just really, if you could just touch on as well, when I went in, I was in my 40s when I went in for my biochemical report card, and I was nervous because I was afraid of the unknown. I wasn't afraid of the needle jab, but I was afraid of, oh wow, what are they gonna? What's he gonna find? Is he gonna? Am I gonna be? Am I gonna have prostate inflammation? Am I gonna have all these? I don't. Sometimes we don't want to know. There's two types of people in the world. There's people that are proactive, and they address problems and go after it straight away, and there are people that run away from their problems. So, our clients tend to be those proactive people that address and tackle the issue, and that's what you've done, Brandon, with great success. Like, you're an inspiration for not only what we do, but for other people that are like you. So, what was your initial? Because I'll say this in closing: is go and get the biochemical report card, and don't be afraid to do it, because you can do it anywhere in the world. And this is precision medicine based on your blood work. All the answers lie within the Nile River, we call it, inside your blood. And once you know, then you can. The doctor has built the past 25 years of his life doing is how to address those biomarkers and address that DNA that you were given. You were not stuck with it anymore. Now, we are able to make changes. How it's that first law of thermodynamics is, we can only, we can't get rid of anything we were given by birth, but we can change it. You know what I mean? We can make a change to it with these capsules, and then with a topical and everything like that. But which is amazing. But if you can just kind of touch on, were you scared when you went in for your blood work? Were you hesitant, or what was your approach? Because mine was a little bit fearful.
Yeah, I think I was more just scared of the needle because I haven't had a needle for many years at that point. So I was more concerned with that, I think. But so I was also very interested to know about where my hormones were, because I was reading a lot about testosterone, DHT, estrogen. And I knew my dad was high testosterone, so I thought maybe that might have something to do with it. I also knew that my mum, even though she's a woman, obviously she had a bit more estrogen than normal. So I was curious to see where I was there, and I was also interested because I know the doctor looks at your genetics. I was more just curious to see what what was going on inside my body. Because when you go to the doctors, they kind of just look at you and they'll tell you, or they can see on the outside, but the outside can't tell you everything. So I was really curious to see exactly what was going on in my body, what was causing my hair loss, if there was anything else I needed to address. So I wasn't exactly fearful. I was more really taken by that curiosity.
Now, how do you feel about this being on a capsule, for the rest of your life? What's your approach? Because for me, I feel I'm afraid not to be on that capsule because then I don't want the change to shift back. And it's kind of, I use an analogy. If you ever had braces or been to an orthodontist, after you get your braces off, they give you a retainer because you don't want those teeth to shift back. And that's exactly what'll happen when you stop taking your supplement. It's because,
Yeah.
so what's your take on, being on a capsule? Because a lot of people say, I don't want to be on a pill for the rest of my life, but this is a different kind of supplement capsule. And, pretty soon, everyone, 80% of people in the world will be on, supplemental capsules. And if they're not, they're going to become a statistic and not be around.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's kind of just like anything else for me. I used to take Roaccutane for acne, and so every morning was a tablet. Um, and it's kind of just like me taking a vitamin pill as well. It seems very normal to me. Just before bed, you just swallow a pill quickly, and then you forget about it. So I don't find it particularly burdensome or anything like that. It's just another part of the routine. I brush my teeth. I'll take the pill. Sometimes I even do it in the mornings instead of the nights. But it's just another part of my lifestyle. I don't really think about it. It doesn't put any more burden to me than if I wasn't taking it. So I'm perfectly fine with it. Just taking that pill, and it's also just making me feel a lot better. So I would willingly do it, even if I didn't have a hair problem. Just knowing that it helps you be more healthy, I'd willingly take that.
Yeah. And have you noticed any increase or any like increase in how your clarity, what you're thinking since you've been on the program? Your sleeping, your general vitality, like anything you could touch on with that?
So when I got on the program, I was my sleep wasn't good, and I think that's because of my routine. I'd hop in the bed and I'd just be watching YouTube or something like that. So with all that blue light, it was very hard to go to sleep. When I got on the program, my lifestyle didn't change in that aspect. So when it came to sleep, I didn't notice anything with the sleep. However, my dad, who was training me at the time, he noticed I was growing muscle quicker, and that was welcome because that's what I was trying to do. I was a young guy and I was trying to get a bit more muscle to be a bit more athletic. So that was really good to have.
Very good. Doctor, any last comments or before we sign off and get on with our day here?
You touched on everything, Jay. I've got a 12-month-old, almost a 1-year-old Shepherd Malinois mix, and it's about time for him to go out for the restroom break. But no, it was an enjoyable conversation. Thank you, Brandon. It's been a pleasure to work with you. And yeah, sometimes the imbalances can improve mental acuity, and a lot of times the physical body responds. So sometimes we're afraid of altering our biochemistry, but if our internal biochemistry was optimized, we wouldn't have hair loss, number one. So think of or imagine that your hormones are percentages deficient in all ranges. So when they are repaired, all the ranges are now repaired. So we expect not just the hair cells to respond, which mine has, and Brandon has, and yours has, and everyone on the program has, but also skin cells, as well as muscle cells, muscle development. So we're not inhibiting using inhibiting agents. We are, as you mentioned, using the first law of thermodynamics, and we are reshaping molecules to precisely fit and augment and supplement the buckets of molecules that need to be appreciated or augmented, and we can both increase and decrease molecules. We first need to understand the hormonal axis, and that's the biggest stumbling block for most people, Jay. I think there's up to 100 million people in the United States that have hair loss. There's only 1%, 1 million being treated, and 95% do not have biochemical report cards and blood chemistry to guide their treatment. So the biggest hurdle is getting that small group to understand that precision medicine requires blood work, and that's where the precision molecular formulation comes from, the blood work.
Yeah, so it's just stopatregrow.com. You know, you can talk to someone free on the telephone, FaceTime, Zoom like this, and they'll explain to you how to book that blood work, and you can book it anywhere in the world. You know, there's a lab most likely a few miles from their house, and then the results are sent to you, and then, you know, you ship out worldwide. You ship to Europe, to Australia, and Brandon made a trip specifically to California to see you to do this. So that should say something, because that is quite a trip. You know, to meet a doctor for a hair regrowth program. So Brandon, you are an inspiration, mate, and you are you know, wish you nothing but the best moving forward. And you know, you really have made, you know, tremendous results in a short time. And just, you know, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Ray. And everybody, just, you know, drop their comments. Feel free on social media to reach out to Brandon, or, you know, DM him, or, because we say, like, there's no actors here. These aren't you know, these aren't, you know, paid people. These are real, you know, people that are clients that on social media we mention, and their handles are there. So, like, Brandon is, you know, if anyone has any questions, you know, reach out to Brandon directly, and be more than happy to share any insights or concerns people may have. So again, thank you for joining me, Dr. Ray, for another episode of Ingredients for a Better Life. Brandon, thank you for joining me, and you know, for helping us out, and you know, for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Great to see you.
Have a great day, guys. God bless. We'll see you next week.